I'm a boss who fires anyone without six-pack abs. I have high standards. Does he also fire anyone that has hair because it makes him feel inferior?
I'm going to tell you this, my entire company, my entire team, if you don't have a six-pack, you don't work for us. No, I know. It's called, everybody say standard. How about we raise them?
An Arizona sales trainer and car salesman is facing blowback after bizarrely claiming that he won't hire anyone who doesn't possess rippling abs.
How about we raise them? How about you guys quit getting fucking civilized and you guys quit settling?
Are you trying to date your employees or something? Bend them over your desk in the office? What do you mean? Andy Elliott tells his more than 500,000 followers, six-pack or you're fired. If you get hired on in... What? If you get hired on in our company, you got a certain amount of time to get your body in shape or it just shows me you don't care. I mean, I've got one, a six-pack. 90% of my team has one. And you know, if I say, get a six-pack, my team understands what I mean. I can just grab any of my people before a meeting. I can say, all right, shirts off, look around. Who's the most disciplined one in the room? This guy's an HR disaster. I already know he's boinking one of the secretaries. This is a fucking sexual deviant. The self-proclaimed world's #1 sales trainer founded Scottsdale-based Elliott Group, offers online courses to impart his alleged wisdom like a jacked Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street. What wisdom? Get a six-pack or else get fired? That's not wisdom, that's bad business. What? This includes an inner circle mentorship that he claims can help people earn upwards of 9 figures a year. If you're wanting to earn 7, 8, 9 plus figures a year, this is the right mastermind for you. Don't watch this if you aren't serious about leveling up in all areas of your life. Okay, this isn't for me then. Yeah, I can't handle that kind of power. $499 a month? And a one-time membership fee of $1,500? Jeepers creepers. Monthly power call. God, that's embarrassing. The private Inner Circle membership with $1,000 a month and a one-time membership fee of $25 grand. He's giving it away. It's basically free. 2 private VIP mastermind meetups per year, where you can spend one-on-one time getting close to Andy Elliott himself. Oh, now we're fucking talking. Andy Elliott holds events every month at the Lion's Den in Scottsdale. The DEF CON Alert Room. I love those kind of names. The Testosterone Thunderdome. $1,600 a month and 50 grand up front. And I get his personal phone number so we can flirt with each other all the time. This is only for the big dogs who are serious and aren't afraid of self-development. I'm a big dog. Yeah. Now we have the monthly private high-level group mentorship call, so that's a little bit better than the power call, I think. The salesman whispers tips, which he frequently posts to his 550k Instagram followers, involve everything from having sex once a day to not being a lil bitch. Nothing says real man, not a bitch, quite like paying 50 grand to some bald goober for his personal phone number. Crazy moment caught on stage is the thumbnail. And the first thing he says is take your shirt off to some random guy.
Take your shirt off. Come on, Garrett. Take your shirt off, Garrett.
No six-pack!
Okay, now hold on. Now, Garrett's a killer. Am I right? Garrett, how old are you? 29. Garrett.
Where's your six-pack?
Does this bother you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, doesn't bother you enough. Because if it did,
I
you wouldn't have it. This is the last time I want you to take your shirt off in front of a group of people and not be in the shape you want your children to be in.
What Andy did for me is he kept me accountable.
Nah, no six-pack. I'm not proud of you.
Are you having sex every single day? If you're
Yes.
not, dude, you don't like you. Because if you did, your ass would be naked every night having sex. Am I right?
God,
Just
that's,
kidding.
that's
That was
spoken like a
joke. I was
virgin.
just messing with her. Yeah, by the way, it's healthy for you to have sex. Am I right? Yes, it is. She even said it. 93 years old, she's like still doing it every day.
And I'm
We're
gonna
good.
fuck her right after
Okay?
this conference.
I promise you can't outgrow that shit, okay? Sorry, bud. Anyways.
Oh
I forgot
my
he was
god,
here.
what? In his latest testosterone-filled tutorial, Elliott claimed that having a cheese grater abdominals are essential to staying on his sales force. I'm going to tell you this. My entire company, my entire team, if you don't have a six-pack, you don't work for us. Yeah, that's the one we were already talking about. If a guy calls me and goes, Andy, I want to make more money today, I'm going to say, do me a favor. Go get a gym pass, check back with me in a month. If you're still working out, you're showing up 5 days a week, you're eating clean, I'll let you buy a coaching program. I mean, those are the people sitting in their mom's basement, you know, commenting, or, by the way, or they're people that are sitting there wishing they could kill it in life, just still making excuses for not taking action. How many men or women can actually protect their family if someone were to break in and cause harm on them? This is more than just being fit. We're in a world right now where everybody's breaking mentally all around the world. If you had a six-pack, your kids would choose you as their hero. Kids like superheroes. What is wrong with you, Andy? By the way, you want your wife to admire you. I mean, when you married her, right? You don't think she sexually, wants to look up to you and be like, God, my guy's the man. I mean, come on, dude. Let's not be a dummy. If you don't take care of that shit, guess what? You're gonna die early, period. And your children will have to let someone else raise them. And your wife's gonna live with some other dude that has a six-pack. Like, he doesn't explain how you're gonna be making 7, 8, or 9 figures a year. He just says if you buy it, you will. This one just says, who's your daddy?
99% of the world right now, they need their manager. Daddy! They need daddy!
This one just says solar salesman. Does he sell... Is he a solar panel scammer? Is that his money-making strategy?
Hey, Daniel, I appreciate you, but I don't want to sign an agreement. Is it me or... No, don't go into that shit. Is it me? You don't understand something? No, listen to me. I'm going to give you a secret, okay, Daniel? You're currently not in agreement with your current utility company. Am I right? So if they triple...
Oh my God.
You'd have to pay for it. Am I correct, yes or no? 100%. Right now, if they doubled or tripled your bill within the next 12 to 18 months, we know they will.
Or is this like an exercise, maybe?
In place that allows you to be inflation-proof, yes or no? So agreements are good as long as they play in your favor, like this one.
What are you clapping for? No, any reasonable person is to be like, can you shut the fuck up and get off of my doorstep? I'm not interested. It's door-to-door solar panel selling. He's a car salesman, I know. We established that very early on. I'm wondering what he's teaching them. He's selling used cars with solar panels.
When I'm in a home or I'm on a front door, that's your house,
wow.
That's your porch, these people owe you money, it's time to go collect.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that plot twist at all. He is teaching them how to be more annoying as a door-to-door salesman. And I feel like I've only scratched the surface on his lore. These are very, very, very lucrative. You position yourself as a guru, and like, you pay me and I'll give you the secrets of happiness, I'll give you the secrets to making money, I'll give you the secrets to love, whatever. And people are more than willing to give everything they have for it. I know a lot of people outside of Florida view Florida as like some kind of freak show circus PvP enabled zone because of all the Florida Man stories. So people look at this place as if it's some different planet with an entirely different species of people that live here. But I was born and raised in this swamp. 29 years down here, I got that Florida Man gene embedded deep in my DNA. I got a little lost in the sauce here. The whole reason I'm even talking about Tampa to begin with is because of a local news story I read today, coming from my neck of the woods. And it's some pretty deplorable shit here.
You are watching what cops say is a terrible crime committed by a brilliant chemist. First, he's seen filling a syringe with some sort of substance. Then he places the syringe under an apartment door.
Now, he's no Walter White or anything, but this guy is apparently a very gifted chemistry student. He was enrolled at the USF PhD program, and according to all the reports, was very gifted. And what did he do with those gifts? Well, he delivered them like Krampus to a family's doorstep and brought a lot of problems for them. So he was injecting these chemicals under their doorstep for months, and it caused the family and their newborn baby to get pretty ill.
Umar Abdullah and his wife had just had a baby. Almost immediately, they say, their downstairs neighbor, then a PhD student in chemistry, began complaining about noise.
Imagine being such a miserable piece of shit that a baby crying makes you so upset that you decide to try and assassinate the whole family because the noise is too much. There was a whole group of frogs that used to fuck right outside of my window of where I slept. I politely knocked on the window occasionally, trying to, scare them away, like take this business elsewhere. I also more than once would open up the door out back of my apartment in order to rustle the bush that they were treating like a frat house to get them away. But the thing is, it never elicits such an extreme response. It's a newborn baby. Obviously, it's going to cry from time to time.
That's him skulking outside the apartment in Tampa.
After my daughter was born, right after we came back from hospital, he started complaining.
Then the family began smelling chemicals pervading the apartment. Everyone, including the baby, started getting sick.
Psychopath energy just rolls up so casually, like this is just routine, another walk in the park. But yeah, just very nonchalant about what is basically attempted murder.
Became overwhelming, and that's when the new dad decided to install a hidden camera. At first, the surveillance video caught just a glimpse of the suspect. The next day, when the camera was repositioned, this happened, and the terrifying truth came out. Initial toxicology reports from police say the substance being pumped into their apartment consists of 2 strong opioids, methadone and hydrocodone.
Now, to further explain, the family was aware of the chemical odor that was permeating through their residence, and they tried everything to get rid of it. They checked all the pipes, everything. Eventually, the landlord even replaced their water heater, thinking that that could have been a culprit, maybe something gone awry, malfunctioning in the water heater, leading to that smell. But the smell never went away, and they kept getting sick. The husband noted vomiting. It was just not a good set of circumstances. So eventually, the husband got a hidden camera that he could set up outside in a plant, just in case it could help lead to some kind of clues on where this smell was coming from. And that's when they learned who the villain was behind the smell.
The suspect is identified as Xiuming Li, who got his PhD in chemistry at the University of South Florida.
Abdullah says he got his family out of the house and then immediately called police. Lee was arrested and charged with multiple counts, including possession of a controlled substance and aggravated stalking.
This is a situation that, had this not been ultimately caught, could have resulted in someone dying.
Tampa is a place known for many great things, like bath salts and good neighbors, and this guy was not a good neighbor. It feels personal for me as a resident of Tampa. It feels like, how could you? We're better than this, damn it. You're giving Tampa a bad name. I just feel disappointed. Just genuinely disappointed. For a lot of people, if they hear the word YouTuber, they immediately just let out a sigh or an eye roll. The only profession with a more negative reputation than YouTubers is telemarketers, and it's pretty close. That's a tight squeeze there. Now, with millions of YouTubers on the platform, of course, there's obviously going to be some bad apples in the bunch, but that doesn't mean it's all rotten. And to prove it, I'd like to present to you a champion. This is a channel that I believe goes to infinity and beyond to deliver not only extremely high quality, entertaining content, but also extremely important work as well. Friendly Jordies is the channel we're going to be talking about today. It's run by a man named Jordan Shanks, or as many of you probably know him from the Wiki Alpha community, Jordan Sex Money Shanks. And he actually has an entire team of equally ripped immortal alpha deities that are all united by a single goal: to expose corruption in all of its forms and make a mockery out of evil people. This is playing life on ultra nightmare mode, really, because he doesn't just go for low-hanging fruit. He targets some of the most nefarious, shady, corrupt organizations and people throughout all of Australia. And he does more than just Australia, but he is from the land down under, so a lot of his content and investigations have been focused on Australia, but has recently branched out into covering some of the most fucked up situations that even I've never heard of before, such as one of his most recent pieces of content called Paradise Bombed, where Jordies and his team covered a disgusting, tragic situation that unfortunately does involve bombing of completely innocent people. And in the very first frame of this video, this is one of Jordies' team members holding a bomb. Like a goddamn corn on the cob. He's just manhandling a bomb while talking about the situation that's going on. I highly recommend watching this video in particular. It also shows you just how seriously they take all of their investigations and just how thorough they'll be. They fucking went to the place getting bombed. Many of you might remember 9 months ago, his house got firebombed by some of the people that he was investigating, allegedly. His house got firebombed, but not only that, his neighbor's house got firebombed because the goddamn turbo Illuminati Cronenbergian homunculi that were trying to hunt down and execute friendly Geordies couldn't quite figure out which of the two houses was Geordie's, so they ended up firebombing his neighbors and then came back to try and finish the job by firebombing his house the following day. An actual attempt on his life. And you know how Geordie's responded to that firebomb? By making an absolute banger video following it up, going into all of the investigations and all of the potential culprits that could have been behind the firebomb attack. And that list is not short by any means. There is nothing but powerful heavy hitters on that list because of the investigations and reporting Friendly Geordies and his team do. And another thing that's important to note is that he is constantly villainized, treated like a fucking demon by the media over there for some reason, even though what he's presenting is just immutable facts about awful people that most normal people are rallying behind him for. Another member of his team had a very famous incident where they were wrestled down and a lot of other bad things happening around them, arrested, investigated for like terrorism, all over a bunch of baloney. He and his team also spend a ton of time crafting really entertaining skits or going hog wild to commit to a bit. So in one of his investigations, he was, this is my favorite, he was doing a deep dive on everything related to a guy named John Barilaro. Eventually this culminated with him finding out that John Barilaro actually rents his very expensive property as an Airbnb. So Geordie's in this very public feud, this wasn't the first time he was investigating Barilaro, in a very public feud, a bunch of back and forth spitting on each other, Geordie's just books it for a little while, which has to be a massive security problem. John Barilaro was not some nobody, nothing burger of a person. He had so much fucking power, and he's just renting out his estate for anyone to go in and snoop.
A second house that's so big, it has a second and third house on it. Like Mars's 2 moons that just got attracted into its gravitational pull. And might I just say, those spare houses are real nice, Giovanni. Yeah, I'm talking directly to you now. Because as you've probably gathered, or haven't because you're that dumb, I'm filming at your estate. And I want you to be the first to know that I f***ed in both your guest houses.
Just blowing him a kiss saying, "Big McThankies from McShankies, I had sex in your guest houses, and Lord only knows what else went on within those walls." Like, he and his team do outstanding work. I can't stress it enough. And another journalist I've talked about a lot, who's also a YouTuber, is Coffeezilla. I also very highly and often sing his praises. And you know what? Coffeezilla and Friendly Geordies just did a collaboration. The two of them just investigated an Australian crypto scammer named Brian King Legend, which is the most beautiful Xbox Live gamer tag of a fake name ever. And together, the two of them tag teamed him and gave him a fucking full-blown spit roast. So, the Coffeezilla posted part 1 of that investigation, and Friendly Geordies posted part 2. And in Geordie's investigation, he does something similar to what he did with Barilaro. He goes to try and directly confront the person that they've investigated to, you know, not only meme on them a bit, but also just try and talk to them about this whole thing. Real victims losing real money, and a real evil douchebag making all of the money. And it's a great investigation. It's an absolute fucking slam dunk on this piece of shit, and it's very fucking entertaining. His reporting, his investigative journalism, and his style of presenting the information is entirely unique and super valuable. So, in case anyone wasn't aware of him, I just wanted to just talk about it a bit. That's really it. Anytime there's a new video game coming out, inevitably there will be leaks. It's just the way the world works, the way the cookie crumbles. Like Michael Jordan in his prime, you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him. Starfield has been leaked by more than one person, but I want to focus on one that recently just got arrested for the way in which they were doing it, among other things. It has to be probably the dumbest leaking incident I've ever fucking seen. Now, of course, like I said, the video game industry is no stranger to leaks. Video games leak more than my ass after eating gluten. And the most prominent leaker of Starfield went insano style on how they were leaking it. So not only did he release 45 minutes of gameplay footage from Starfield, he also came into possession of quite a few physical copies of the game itself. Allegedly, he had stolen like review copies of the game and tried to start selling those as well. And most comical of all with his plan here, his nefarious scheme, is that the footage he uploaded from Starfield, he posted onto his own real personal YouTube channel, which apparently had his real name attached to it. The leaker in this case, his name is Darren Harris. His plan was as simple as, I'll just go raw, no rubber. I'm just going to upload this to my personal channel. This will pop my shit off. Let's go. And so he did. Which is, that is a Sigma grind set maneuver right there. He said, you know what? Let's just get right into it. He also uploaded another video where he was just kind of talking about the game. He said, Todd Howard, no offense, but it's a good game. And then he posted tons and tons of proof that he had all of the games that he said he did. He started selling them on Mercari. And a handful of days later, Harris began shutting down his social media accounts. I'm assuming he had some kind of come to Jesus eureka moment where he realized, damn, this was a horrible idea. But it was already too late. The authorities got a search warrant for his house, and he was eventually booked with 2 misdemeanors, one for possession of marijuana and another for property theft worth $1,000 or less, and then a felony charge slapped on there for property theft of $2,500 to $10,000. He was also released on a $10,000 bond, but is scheduled to appear in court on September 8th. Also, he apparently said that he had purchased his copies of the games. I did look at a little bit of the leaked footage just out of pure curiosity. I've been cautiously optimistic for Starfield ever since they showed the most recent gameplay showcase. I thought it looked extremely impressive and really fun. A lot better than I expected it to. But that leaked footage, partner, hooey, I tell you what. That was a bit rough. That put some vegetables on a spoon and said, open wide, Charles, here comes the choo-choo train, and I wasn't ready for those vegetables. I will just say, one of the biggest disappointing things I saw was how completely barren a lot of it looked, which was one of my biggest concerns with the game when everything was first announced about it. But the gameplay showcase massaged it a bit and made me believe that it wouldn't just be procedurally generated nothingness, because that's super boring, because some of the shit they showed looked more empty than a Burger King. It's a bit alarming. Now, pardon me while I still huff a bit of hopium here. I'm still fingers crossed that this won't be representative of how the actual Starfield experience goes. There were a few other features, we'll use for lack of a better term, that players aren't super excited for that came out from these leaks. So overall, a lot of people just had their expectations lowered a little bit here on the Starfield hype. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this whole situation here. That's really about it. So yeah. I know what you're thinking. Good heavens, Charles is looking taller than usual today. And thank you for noticing. I don't want to jinx it, but I do think I'm finally coming up on my growth spurt I was promised over a decade ago. But there's a couple things I want to talk about today. Some astute observers amongst you may have noticed I've done a little redecorating to my exquisite dojo here. And I'd like to go into detail to explain everything, but before doing that I've got to ask you a question. What separates a weak man from a strong man? What's the difference? Is it the size of his muscles? The strength of his jawline? The brightness of his big toothy smile? How many grocery bags he can carry in one trip? No, friends. Those are all far too superficial. The strength of a man is determined by the quality of his energy drink, and I promise there is no energy formula better than GamerSupps. It is the top tier, optimal energy drink, which is why I now have this GamerSupps claw machine behind me now, because I am a strong man. I was with G Fuel for a long time. Well, I initially started with them because so many friends were with them and recommended them highly, saying that they were a great company, great people with a great product, Until then, I hadn't even tried their flavors, but when I did, I liked it. We got to talking. I enjoyed everyone I communicated with at that company, and it seemed like they had a good direction they wanted to go, so I happily hopped on board, and for a little while, it was sunshine and rainbows. But then, about a year and a half into our partnership, things went tits up. The Fire Nation swooped in and everything changed. And by Fire Nation, I mean NFT craze. I actually think this was the turning point for the company internally when they tried to do G Fuel NFTs. Despite so many of us voicing concerns, it wasn't really taken seriously. And then I can remember distinctly after that, everyone we had talked to at G Fuel and had been talking to for like a year and a half, they had all either been fired or left. And then, over the last year or so that we were with G Fuel, everyone that came in to replace those people had also either been fired or left. So communication became non-existent. We couldn't talk to anyone with a pulse at that company. Just overall, it was a mess. So at the beginning of 2023, we decided not to renew our contract. Still very proud of the work we did with G Fuel and the flavor we made, but the company itself isn't one that we had a lot of faith in anymore. I wanted to see if there were better products out there because I really did enjoy having an energy drink before a workout, before basketball. I'd usually use them pretty much anytime I was about to do anything outside of my house. The GamerSupps flavors are by far the best I've had in the space, period, and it's not even really close. And I'd also heard from my friends that they're amazing to work with, just super nice and like really great people, which is very refreshing to hear coming from G Fuel. So we started talking with GamerSupps and it just felt like a perfect fit. One thing leads to another. The marriage is wonderful, ceremony is fantastic, and I don't have like a custom flavor or a custom shaker cup at the moment. Down the line, maybe, hopefully. But right now they did make me a custom GamerSupps claw machine that's fully functional. So I want to show you that, and I also do have a really cool plan for that. Like I mentioned, this puppy is fully functional. So let me go ahead and show you it in action. It's a little hard to film and play it and catch everything, but doing my best. Yikes. It's a little hard to, nail depth perception through the phone lens here, but that's where the prize will go. Now, I did mention I had big plans for this thing, so let me explain what those are. Have you ever seen those Japanese arcades that allow you to play a claw machine long distance, like on your computer? Yeah, we're gonna try and set that up for this bad boy. So during streams, when I'm doing like just chatting or going over wacky stories, I can have that claw machine running the entire time and allow some of the viewers to actually play it in real time. I thought this would actually be a really fun thing to do for everyone who's a member, a YouTube member to my streams. Big thanks to everyone who is a member. I thought this would be like a fun perk for it. For those that don't know, I've been streaming on YouTube over the last 2 weeks, and a YouTube member is the same thing as a Twitch sub. So I thought this could be like a fun little mini game that YouTube members can play. Many of you probably know this, but I'm gonna break the magician's code here and reveal a secret that I guess maybe some people don't know. Claw machines are rigged. And I can say that with 100% certainty beyond a shadow of a doubt now that I own one. You, as the owner of the claw machine, set the probability on it. So, like, you choose how many games that there will likely be until a winner, meaning, like, the grip strength, which you can change. It's all variable. And there's a bunch of different modes. So I thought it'd be fun to set it to randomized mode, where you don't know if it's going to grip hard or grip light or whatever. You'd be lifting out the shaker cup, and inside some of them would be post-it notes of, like, a prize you'd win. And I could send you the prize. And the prizes could be simple things like an expensive Yu-Gi-Oh card from my Yu-Gi-Oh collection because I have so many duplicates, and I could send you that. All the way up to like grand prizes of like a PlayStation 5 or something, just to make it really exciting and really like goofy. So yeah, overall just super excited to be working with GamerSupps, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah. The only thing more pathetic than an internet prankster is nothing. These degenerate worms whose entire existence revolves around making strangers' lives worse in public so that they can film it and post it online for content are actually the most embarrassing thing humanity has ever produced. So I just learned about a new prankster who's been at the game for over a year, and the only thing he has to show for it is a few arrests and a community of children that just shoot spitballs and make fun of him like a bad birthday party clown.
When I hop up this counter and break that camera, you gonna be mad. So stop fucking recording me, though.
Make my milkshake and chill out.
I'm not making nothing.
You're not making nothing?
I'm not making nothing.
Dude, you heard how she talked to me?
I swear that I'm not making nothing. Fuck out of here. All y'all.
Hey!
Inside? I'm not making nothing. You want to stand here? Stand here. We're not serving you. Get the fuck out of here.
I'll go back there myself and make a damn milkshake, motherfucker.
Over here. I swear to God, I'll shit out of you.
Dude, get the hell out of here.
Get the fuck out of here, I said.
Dude,
make me, Mr. Sir. Make me.
we gotta go. Let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Ah, yes, the classic prank. Harass customer service employees and be an insufferable asshole. His entire existence is like this perpetual miasma of misery that haunts his community, where he and the after-school cringe club latch onto his ass to suckle a bit of clout out of it, get together, and just make complete strangers' days worse. I would rather my child grow up to be a professional toilet seat kisser than grow up to be a prankster like this kid.
I'll go back there myself and make a damn milkshake, motherfucker.
I swear to God, I'll shit out.
A completely flat and hollow threat from this affluent douchebag who I have no doubt has never faced any real repercussions from his actions, and he has the world's worst laugh. Now, you may have noticed a lot of cuts in this, and that's because, of course, they leave out the context that led to this escalation and exactly what happened here to get to this point. But the manager has spoke up about this situation afterwards. The manager stood his ground, handled everything really well, I thought. It turns out the manager is an actual trained fighter. Now, you're probably wondering how old the doofus committee here is from the pranksters, but would you believe me if I told you that he's actually 19 years old? There's a video as well as an article going over one of his mini runs-in with authorities, and he says, "How are you my height? I'm 19.
When you guys walk up on people that you guys know don't like you, that have chased you around before, someone's eventually gonna probably beat you guys up.
That's what we're aiming for.
Why?
Low key, just to get some content out of it.
Okay, so you're gonna be the victim of an assault for a content.
A super honest answer from a super big douchebag. He is so delusional, he really thinks that this is his ticket to internet updates, when in reality, it's most likely just going to be his ticket to the hospital or jail.
What? What?
You guys all walk away.
We didn't even do nothing. Wow, bro. Yup.
So he just keeps doing these extremely stupid stunts, calling them pranks, harassing just normal people in the world.
What do you mean?
He's taking pictures.
Yo, who the hell is that?
Stop acting. Stop acting like that, please.
Yo, get that camera off me. Get the hell out of here.
It's okay.
Huh?
It's okay.
Get the hell on out of here.
I still can't believe he's actually 19 years old. He looks like he still needs mommy and daddy to drive him to this Home Depot so he can film these pranks with his buddies.
Jersey.
Don't pet Jersey right now. We're just seeing that. You got me.
Yeah, I was thinking he smelled like shit.
What'd you say to my dog?
Yeah, I said I thought your dog smelled like shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here before I let you smell like shit.
Wait, it's a dog, sir.
Get out of here. Man, get out of here.
Calm down.
All right, don't say my dog is this or that. Get the fuck out.
I was just saying the dog smelled like shit, sir.
Good one. Again. Everything this guy and his friends have ever done that I can find is just actual trash. And I'll always take a little bit of time to make fun of some pieces of shit like this because I think it is an invaluable service to provide. It's just fucking pathetic. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya. I think there's still a large portion of people out there that are stuck in Lollipop Narnia Fantasyland when it comes to how big the video game industry is. The video game industry since 2020 has done more annual revenue than the movie and music industry combined, and it's not even close. In 2020, there was over 159 billion clams generated by the video game sector of the entertainment industry, and that number has only continued to grow exponentially. An astronomical explosion here from video games. When it is such a huge industry, of course it's going to be exploited by some evil soulless suits at the top of the food chain looking to nickel and dime everyone for a profit. And recently this has come in the form of releasing subpar products for an increased price, games becoming $70 more frequently, and the game's quality being unforgivably dog shit more frequently. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the Tooth Fairy leaves a little hollow promise under your pillow as well in these Twitter apologies with some kind of big bold statement about how they're committed to fixing everything wrong with it. And that never comes. And now we're starting to see something else develop here, where entire studios are getting shut down following a flop or following a bad release. The most recent one that just happened today, as of making this video, is Volition just announced that it's shutting its doors. After nearly 30 years in the video game industry, it's really unfortunate because, for the most part, their resume slaps. They're responsible for some iconic bangers that I look back on so fondly even today. And one of those games actually comes from Volition. It's called Red Faction Guerrilla. To date, still has one of the most interesting mechanics with its fully destructible environments that I haven't seen replicated in anything else ever since. And of course, they are still responsible for the original Saints Row games that most people still love. But because the video game space has become so big and so filled with money, doubloons leaking out of every single, orifice of this industry, it means that every game costs so much to make. And the most recent Saints Row game was in development for 5 or so years, and it didn't do well. So these games take super long to make, which is very expensive because of all of the labor that you're paying for over that long period of time. And then if the game comes out and it doesn't sell like $500 million worth of copies or microtransactions, then the company loses so much money on it, and that leads to closures like this. So it's just really sad because Volition is a very talented studio and has always been a talented studio. Every single AAA game can't spend 5 or 6 years in development and need to sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of copies and microtransactions for it to make a profit. That's not going to last. A lot of studios don't want to really take a chance on a new IP, just like in the movie industry, because it's uncertain. When you go with a established IP like Saints Row, it comes with a built-in fan base. You can guarantee there will be interest in it off rip because it is an established franchise. With a new IP, you don't have that safety net. And since there's so much money at stake here for these companies, they're not willing to gamble on a new IP, which sucks, and it's why you don't see a ton of new IP come from AAA game devs, which is why indie games are so important, and anything that's not AAA. They're kind of filling that void of new, creative, innovative IPs. And this kind of thing actually just happened recently as well, even before Volition, with the Lord of the Rings Gollum developers, Daedalic Entertainment. Is Lord of the Rings Gollum the best game ever made? No. Is it the worst game ever made? Maybe. It's bad. It's really bad. It is definitely 2023's biggest stinker. But out of nowhere, they released a statement saying that the developer, Daedalic Entertainment, is closing down. And one super stinker shut down the entire company, which had a history of delivering good point-and-click games. Now, I guess it's not fair to say that it shut down the entire studio. It shut down their internal developers. So Daedalic does still exist, but not in the form that it used to. It doesn't have the teams that are responsible for developing games like Lord of the Rings Gollum or the upcoming Lord of the Rings game they were working on. So, also, it was directly the result of the game's horrible reception and awful sales. And in the modern landscape of gaming, if you spend a lot of time on a game and it doesn't sell well, it's like a death sentence for the company, it seems. Yeah, that's really about it. See ya. Today we're going to be talking about a pure evil YouTuber that was just arrested for some truly heinous stuff. This is the story about Ruby Frank of the very popular parental advice / parenting blogger / family YouTube channel 8 Passengers, which is already a really creepy name, by the way. 8 Passengers does sound like some kind of cult. Ruby Frank and her business partner Jody Hildebrandt were arrested this week, and they're being charged with 6 counts of child abuse. Her husband Kevin was also prominently featured in there as well. But for some reason, he's not mentioned in any of this right now, aside from a couple of mentions that he's just trying to keep the family together and help the children through this difficult time with Ruby being arrested. There's no way Kevin didn't know what was happening, especially considering in 2020, Kevin was front and center fighting on the front lines to defend himself and his wife against abuse allegations, defending their parental style. They go over some of the stories and videos that she would proudly post on her channel, where she just openly admits, proudly, almost bragging, about torturing her children. She built a reputation as being a strict parent with a strict parental style. The way she treats her children is like the way prisoners are treated at Guantanamo Bay. She fucking posted a video where she was laughing about not feeding her daughter any food because she was punishing her. And she even said that she hopes nobody gives her daughter any food because if she did, then the lesson wouldn't be learned. This was a huge channel. 8 Passengers had 2.5 million subscribers. But in this case, it really is a famous YouTuber. A very large YouTube channel that gave tons of parental advice for a very long time, had a very successful family vlog, and then even went on with Jody Hildebrandt to start doing life coaching and general life advice. All the while, she'd been abusing her children the entire fucking time. I don't know, there's something about that picture that's super eerie. A Utah mother known for chronicling her strict parenting style was arrested after one of her children ran to a neighbor's house seeking help. And she did this on YouTube?
My kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
Miss Frank and Miss Hildebrandt were each charged on Friday with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse, according to the Washington County Attorney's Office. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison and a fine up to $10,000. According to the affidavit, Miss Frank's 12-year-old son, identified as RF, climbed out of a window of Miss Hildebrandt's home and went to a neighbor's house on Wednesday morning asking for food and water. The child had duct tape on his ankles and wrists as well as open wounds. He appeared to be emaciated and malnourished. The neighbor called the police, who then found Miss Frank's 10-year-old daughter Eve at Miss Hildebrandt's. She also appeared to be malnourished, the affidavit said. Both children were taken to the hospital. The boy was placed on a medical hold due to his deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment, according to the affidavit. Oh my god. In 2020, Chad Frank, then 15, told YouTube viewers in one family video that he had been sleeping on a beanbag for months and that he had lost his bedroom after playing a prank on his little brother. In one video recorded by Miss Frank and reposted to TikTok, she said her daughter Eve's teacher had called her to say Eve had come to school without lunch. Miss Frank said the teacher was uncomfortable with her being hungry, but that Eve was responsible for making her own lunch and that the natural outcome is she is just going to be hungry. Hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch, because then she's not going to learn from it. Oh, and apparently there was even a bunch of petitions from the community to try and get them taken down because it was actual evidence of child abuse. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this, and so glad they finally decided to step up. Kids are safe, but there's a long road ahead. Sherry Frank, now a junior at BYU, posted about her mother's arrest on Instagram, saying justice is being served. So one of the kids was trying to alert CPS and the police, and they didn't do anything? A lot of the community that was aware of this channel was actively trying to get CPS involved, especially when it came to that beanbag incident where one of the children made it clear that they had been sleeping on a beanbag for an extended period of time because they had lost their bedroom due to that prank that they had played on one of the siblings. So CPS did get loosely involved at some point, but Ruby was somehow able to brush them off and nothing came from it somehow. The second that Ruby was proudly gloating, wiggling her fingers, celebrating her incredible parenting of just depriving her children of food as a punishment, that should have been enough to get authorities involved. It's not anything like that. It's fucking abuse. This isn't parenting. Ruby's sisters also have hundreds of thousands of followers, so they posted an Instagram statement that said, "For the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Frank for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe, which is the #1 priority." Keeping quiet wasn't helping the children. They were being abused, and if you were aware of that, how the fuck would being quiet somehow help them? Being quiet doesn't get them out of the situation. That doesn't do anything to actually save them or keep them safe. I don't know why you would be quiet for 3 years if you were actively working to keep the kids safe. Let's imagine that one of the kids wasn't lucky enough to break free and escape through a window and get help from someone nearby. They'd still be tied up right now in that house. I do still think there's other people that knew what was happening in that household that should also face very severe punishment for allowing that to happen and continue happening for as long as it did. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. That's about it. See ya. They actually did it. They made a live-action anime series that wasn't utter embarrassing trash that's poisonous to the human eyeballs. The live-action One Piece is very impressive. They actually built the fucking ships, and they look spectacular in the show. So once they released that, and once they released the following trailer, I was kind of sold on the hopium that this could actually end up being pretty good. And it turns out it is good. The characters aren't cringe. They don't try and emulate the anime characters one-to-one. They capture the spirit of the characters from the show and manga without trying to take everything that made them special in the anime and try and have humans cosplay it. The perfect example of this is actually with Cowboy Bebop, the character Ed, who appears in the anime and the live action. And in the live action, they tried to one-to-one clone Ed. So they had the live action character of Ed doing the same things the anime counterpart did. Oh, well, Spike, it looks like, you know, that kind of shit. And it's hard to watch. And One Piece must have recognized that because they don't. Again, the spirit is completely intact. All of the characters in the live action feel like the characters in the anime and manga, but without them coming across as some kind of half-baked bootleg carbon copy. They make very over-the-top and fun. Stuff like that. They keep the spirit while making it work in live action. Best example is actually Luffy. Luffy as a character displayed very simple personality traits without a ton of growth. The most part was just spent ironing him as stupid and obsessed with meat, and then just nerfing him, taking him out of the equation by getting him stuck in between two buildings for 15 episodes, or getting him stuck in a snake's belly for 15 episodes, that kind of thing. But Luffy goes through emotional development in the anime over a long period of time. In the live action, they actually take that and condense it to 8 episodes very effectively, I felt. Now, the show does follow the anime and manga story beats pretty closely for the most part, with of course some creative liberties taken to make it more conducive to live action. And I think for the most part, all of those changes work really well. The tone of the show is actually far more mature than I would have expected. Like, the characters, aside from just having the mouth of a sailor, some potty mouth, they actually say fuck and shit. They say shit a lot. They actually increased the maturity of most of the characters as well. Like, for example, Usopp. Usopp in the anime, when he first joins the crew, he is very in-your-face, over-the-top with constant yelling and joking or telling stories. And in the live action, he's very mellow. They really tone that down. Now, Usopp, of course, in the live action is still telling stories often and telling jokes, but it never feels like it's too much to the point where it gets annoying or overstaying its welcome. The biggest standout for me is Mihawk, actually. Mihawk is so badass in this show. Like, they introduced Mihawk in the best possible way. But now let's move on from the characters here. Let's talk about how they pulled off capturing so much with so little episodes. It does feel a bit rushed at times because there is a lot they need to cover and they don't have a whole lot of time or flexibility to do it. And I think it becomes very noticeable with the Syrup Village arc in particular, when Usopp joins the crew. So, one thing that the show does is the characters basically teleport everywhere they need to go. They don't really spend much time on the ship, which, again, I think is just the result of only having 8 episodes to get all of this story in there. The major differences are Shaman Buchi being different here than in the show and manga, as well as the absence of Django. Django's just not here. They kept him on the bench, which I think is a weird decision, because Django is pretty fucking cool. But anyway, Syrup Village arc introduces Usopp, and in the anime, they make it clear right away that he is a liar. He calls himself the Great Captain Usopp, he commands 1,000 pirates, he always, says pirates are coming to the village, even though that's not the case. They also establish that he's cowardly. He runs away from fights, he's afraid of it, and that's because he's weak, he's not strong, and he knows it. He is established to be someone that has a really high IQ when it comes to battle. He's very creative when it comes to fighting, and it also helps that he's very good at sniping with his slingshot. And the most important thing is that he is undyingly loyal to the people he cares about, so much so that in the face of all of his shortcomings and all of his weakness, he will put his life on the line to protect the people he cares about. And it eventually leads to the fucking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket to join the Straw Hat crew. Now, in the live action, they keep all of the beats intact, but since it wraps itself up in 2 episodes, they completely miss the landing on making Usopp a character deserving of joining Luffy's crew. He shoots like one single slingshot pellet at Kuro, the main antagonist of this arc, and that's it. Whereas in the anime, he goes through hell. He's like multiple times 1 foot in the fucking grave because he is committed to protecting Kaya and stopping Kuro. And it's this determination to protect those people, even though he's not the strongest, that makes him an admirable character that you can totally understand why you'd want him on board this crew. In the live action, there's just no reason. Like, he doesn't really do anything at all. He tells lies, he tells stories, and to showcase that he's good with a slingshot, he shoots like a little bit of food at a pan. It was always about Usopp and how loyal he was to protect people. And I think it's just because it only had 8 episodes, so they couldn't dedicate enough time to do that, but I still feel like they needed some kind of triumphant moment with Usopp squaring off against Kuro to try and protect Kaya and Nami, as opposed to him just firing one single pellet and then Luffy immediately coming in and saving the day, just fucking blasting Kuro's ass. I feel like having the context of the anime or manga going into the live action really helps elevate the whole experience because you have all of the background information on these characters and the situations they find themselves in, whereas someone who's coming in here cold, just a wee lad out in the rain knowing nothing about One Piece, all they have is the live action content to go off of, and I don't know how effective it is at conveying why Usopp is a good character and why Usopp should be on the crew. But overall, like I said, I think the show hits more than it misses. The only other complaint I have is that sometimes the visuals get a little stinky. There are times where the visuals fucking collapse and they look like literally the Flash level, like DCU bad CGI moments. The worst case, the worst scene really in the whole show is when Garp is chasing the Straw Hats and he throws a cannonball. This happens in the anime as well. Garp chases them, throws cannonballs. In the live action, it happens far earlier than it does in the show. And when he throws that cannonball, Luffy inflates and he deflects the cannonball back and it blows up Garp's ship. It blows up one of the things holding the sails. I forgot what it's called. Blows it up and it incapacitates them basically. That whole exchange, bouncing the cannonball back and especially the explosion, look atrocious. Actually looks like Adobe After Effects tutorial on YouTube. So overall, the show I thought nailed it. It's clear a lot of passion and love went into this, and it's very clear that Oda himself was involved in the creation of this. And I hope they're given more time, because I think a lot of the things that myself and a few other people didn't think landed that well is just the result of having to cram so much in so short a time. Oh, also, I really wanted to mention this. They did make a major change with Don Krieg. I don't want to get into spoilers because this actually is totally different than the anime and manga, and it changes everything about, well, I'm not going to say everything. It changes a lot about Sanji joining the crew as well as Arlong. And for some reason, it feels like he's immediately obsessed with Luffy and the crew. Like, he is really taken to them so quickly. But it just feels really out of place for Sanji in particular, who comes aboard with no hesitation whatsoever, no real, like, conundrum or really any thought whatsoever aside from just, sounds good, I'm in. And then immediately, like, he's ride or die with this crew forever, within a couple of minutes. But anyway, overall, I did really like live action One Piece. Plugging it into the moist meter, I'm going to give it a comfortable 80%. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. See ya.